You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
Welcome to Volatility Views, the premier program for volatility traders. Each week, we'll take a deep dive into the world of volatility with in-depth analysis, trading activity reviews, strategy breakdowns, cutting-edge education, and much more. We'll also bring you exclusive conversations with the traders, researchers, and asset managers who are reshaping the volatility landscape. If it involves volatility, then you'll find it on Volatility Views. Volatility Views is brought to you by CBOE Live Vol. CBOE Live Vol is the leader in equity and index options trading technology, providing professional and retail traders with the most sophisticated options risk analysis, compliance, and trading tools. CBOE Live Vol offers a broad spectrum of advanced trading technology, including the Live Vol X, next generation execution platform, and Live Vol Pro, the new standard in options trading front ends. Visit livevol.com for a 15-day free trial today. And by Russell Investments, the home of Russell Indexes, which calculates approximately 700,000 benchmarks daily, covering 98% of the investable market globally, including more than 80 countries and more than 10,000 securities. Approximately $4.1 trillion in assets are benchmarked to Russell Indexes. For more information on Russell Indexes and RVX, please visit russell.com/indexes. And now, it's time to take a deep dive into the world of volatility. It's time for Volatility Views.
There we go. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Volatility Views. If you're saying, man, you guys are hitting us up a lot lately, that's true, because there's a lot going on over here in these here fine markets. It is indeed Election Day 2016. November 8th, getting a little late in the day, but still we're coming back to you live. You guys have been hitting us up all year long, quite frankly, with questions and asking us, hey, what do elections really mean for the markets, and what is the data, how does it impact VIX and volatility and all these other great and fun things. And we've got that data for you now, and we're going to break it down for you live as it's happening right now. My name is Mark Longo, of course, from the optionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting Options Insider Radio Network. Hopefully you guys can stay up late with us. If you can't join us live, I know you'll hit this on the network after the fact as well. It is about a little after 9, about 9:15 Central Time right here, and shall we say a little bit is happening over there in the overnights. I think, first off, the election results are coming in, and Mr. Trump is faring, I think, a lot better and making the rates a lot closer than just about anyone anticipated at this point. In fact, as we're looking right now, Trump has about 140 electoral votes versus Clinton's 104, so leading in the electoral counts, and very close in a lot of battleground states that people had assumed were going to be in Hillary's back pocket, like Michigan. I saw some data recently coming out of Michigan. They're saying it was down to 77 votes between the two of them. So we may indeed be staring at another hanging Chad scenario. Florida, of course, another battleground state, too close to call. Ohio, still too close to call, I believe, as well. So a lot of parsing, a lot of navel gazing. The market's not liking what they're seeing right now. Overnight, the Dow Jones already off about 600 handles. Yes, you heard me right, 600. It hit the 18,394 yesterday during the session, or I should say today during the session. Seems like a day ago. And now dipping as low as 17,673 in the overnights. The S&P off nearly 90 handles at this point. The NASDAQ 100 mini off about 198 as well. So things are just popping off left, right, and center. We're seeing Euro stocks popping about 18 handles right now over there in the overnight. And for some data on all things domestic volatility, I turn to our local volatility correspondent, the man with the data, the director of education over there at the CBOE, Mr. Russell Rhodes. Russell, welcome back to, yet again, second time in the day, a record for the Volatility Views program. And how are things going in your 24 hours of all things VIX over there at the CBOE?
You know, I thought I was going to be asleep by now. I thought that Florida would have been called for Hillary, and I'd get a good night's sleep, and that's not going to happen, is it? You were kidding around earlier talking about the 24 hours of VIX that I'm getting ready to experience, and that is exactly what I'm experiencing. We got VIX up over 30%. The November contract had not been in the 20s since July, after the whole Brexit situation. So we're actually at much higher levels. I think the high for the November contract with all the email stuff last week was 1985. And last I saw, we've got a 21 handle on VIX after going out at 16 even. And the futures were at 1847. So we've also, the index doesn't open until 2:15 in the morning, and it looks like I'll be up then, Chicago time. But right now, it looks like we may even go higher from here. It's amazing the follow through that we continue to get. It's like I think you and I were chatting a few minutes ago when we said that the Dow futures had been down about 500 points, and then as we get going, you're talking about it being down 600. This whole thing is it's nutty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You and I were talking before we hopped on, and of course we had a few historic benchmarks already this year. I think the most prominent of them being the Brexit announcement and the sell-off. And if listeners don't know, you guys over there at the CBOE listed not that long ago, it was about a year ago now or so, maybe a little longer, the extended hours for the S&P and also for the VIX products to help accommodate a lot of these overseas customers who tend not to trade on U.S. hours. And I think you have some data on that. But I know the number, I think, tends to break down somewhere around on big active days, about 8 or 9% of the overall volume goes up in those after hours. And that's usually on tends to be European-dominated type events, and you saw that, of course, with Brexit. We're seeing that now with the market selling off aggressively and people wanting their volatility exposure. So what kind of action are you guys seeing in the extended /European hours session over there for all things VIX futures?
Well, we're only about 4 hours into the session, and it looks like we've done a little over 80,000 contracts. Average daily volume this year has been a little bit over 200,000, and that includes overnight and the full day session. I believe after Brexit we set a record where we did well over 100 or so. 150 pops into my mind, but don't hold me to that. It looks like just in the overnight session, if things keep going the way they're going, we may do like an average day's daily volume before most people get up tomorrow morning. So, everybody was paying close attention to what was going on their favorite news network. And then if you're like I am, you also have your laptop in your lap and you're kind of watching, you got one eye on what's going on in the markets, another eye on what's going on and I actually just see Donald Trump being projected the winner in Ohio by a couple of networks as we speak.
That is a big deal.
And yeah, that's a big one. I mean, they're different because our electoral system is so funny. 44 people that vote in 44 states, it always matters. And you don't want to downplay that, but really, this whole thing came down to it looked like it was going to be 6 states, and Ohio was one, I believe Michigan was one, and Florida was one, and I think he's looking good in all 3. And the more solid he looks, and the closer they get to 100% of the vote, the higher the VIX futures go.
Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah.
I think I was saying on our earlier, they're getting blended together. We've done so many of these now, but our earlier session, our earlier election day session, which we thought was going to be one and done, we never expected this overnight furor. And again, if he wins Ohio, that's a lot bigger than I think anyone thought for. People have been, I think ourselves included, have been underestimating this guy from the beginning. And during the primaries, everyone thought it was kind of a joke and a lark that this guy was running and he was doing it for marketing purposes, and it wasn't. I think a lot of the candidates, his opposition, thought that as well. And one by one, they've fallen by the wayside. And then here was Hillary leading in most of the polls until coming into this week. I've heard stories actually that she had curtailed a lot of her campaign spending in states like Michigan because it seemed like she had it in her back pocket. And now here it is, too close to call. Or if the Ohio early predictions are correct, she may have lost now Ohio, which is, if you're not familiar with U.S. domestic politics, listeners, one of the key battleground states, up there with Florida, Michigan, and a handful of others that really are going to decide this contest. Florida also very close to call right now as well, which I think a lot of people are surprised by that as well. And the Dow not liking that news, off 621 now. Russell and S&P off 85. This is kind of, again, I think, bucking the trend that a lot of us have come to know of markets tending, for a variety of historical reasons, to rally on the resurgence of a Republican nominee and to sell off on the resurgence of a Democratic nominee. They don't like the big government approach, heavy regulation approach of Democrats. This is kind of an interesting result. We haven't seen this too much recently. I think a lot of this maybe some of the rhetoric coming out of the Trump camp, some of them thinking he's going to actually exacerbate volatility. Maybe Hillary, been around for so long, a bit more of a known quantity. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons that are going into this numbers, but whenever anything shows any sort of Trump resurgence, could be a poll or in today, real actual data, actual voting data, it seems to just scare the hell out of everybody, markets included. It's a bit of a surprise. We, of course, had a bit of a flip of that script back in 2000 when every time news came out that Bush was winning, of course, markets would rally. Every time it was Gore, markets would tank. We're seeing the reverse of that. Speaking of which, as I was walking in here, I was listening to some of the networks, and some of the networks were already joking that we need to break out the scripts from back in 2000. Because it seems like we're headed that way again. So, and I was joking on our earlier episode that we may not know who the winner is, at the end of this day. That's seeming more and more likely, particularly if this contest in Ohio is as close as they're saying in Florida and Michigan. We may very well not know what we're getting going into tomorrow's session. So what's your guesstimate right now, Mr. I almost called you the Rock Lobster. That'd be a different guy. Yep. Mr. Corner Office. What are you feeling right now? If indeed this holds to pass, if he did win Ohio and Florida is still too close to call going into the midnight hours here and even into tomorrow's session. I mean, all those people we heard it earlier on today's show, people were fading VIX left, right, and center. And those people right now are perhaps regretting that choice.
Yeah, I did mention that one of the people I talked to pretty frequently said they actually got long one of the leveraged long ETPs, so not everybody was taking the other side of that one. They just gave Hillary Virginia on the network that I'm watching, and that was one that was kind of close. I think if Trump wins Michigan and Florida, I actually think he's going to win this thing, which I spoke in New York a week ago, and I was actually doing a joint CBOE CME thing, and there were a lot of Cubs fans in the audience, and I said, can you guys, if we went back 3 years, could you imagine in the same week if we were to say the Cubs win the World Series and Donald Trump just became president of the United States? You would think it was Back to the Future 4, and they were messing with us. It's just amazing. And as we speak, the S&P futures just hit down 100. It's just amazing stuff, And if a lot of people are into sports, and you and I are more into the markets, this is like a Super Bowl for us, just to get to watch this stuff.
Yeah, surprise Super Bowl, one that no one knew was coming. Oh, it's a random Super Bowl on a Tuesday. Get out your popcorn and your wings.
And the VIX, the November VIX futures just spiked above 23. They're up 735, 740, and every time I speak, they go up a little bit more. So we're definitely looking at the markets. Every piece of news that comes out, it seems like we move higher on the VIX futures because every piece of news that has come out so far has seemed to favor Donald Trump and not Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I'm already seeing people tweeting here and talking about circuit breakers primed and ready to go for tomorrow. Who'd have thought it? But yeah, it seems like we are indeed heading that way. Yeah, 650 in the Dow, pushing about 100 in the S&P right now. Just crazy town. 23, like you said, you mentioned in the November future. So you're right. Everyone who was fading VIX today, talking 1x2s out there on the put side, all of that not indeed coming to pass. This is impressive stuff by any measure here, listeners, as we're watching this unfold. We thought we'd bring it to you live. Our friends over there at the CBOE, mostly Mr. Rhodes, holding down the 24-hour fort over there, watching the after-hour session. Who knows, Russell? Maybe if you're up for it, maybe we'll do like the 1 a.m. check-in. Are you up for that, sir?
Sure. Just shoot me an email.
We'll do 1 a.m. Then we'll do 3 a.m. We'll do around the clock, 5 a.m. I was just joking with someone here. This is one of our first real kind of nighttime broadcasts here and recordings, and I kind of like this. These are my times. You don't know. You guys don't see into the inner workings of the studio here, but a lot of stuff happening here between like 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. This is our prime hours. We should do some nighttime shows. It'd be kind of fun. I'm up for it. We call it Volatility After Dark. I tune into that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking Volatility After Dark. I'm getting a pipe.
Ooh, a smoking jacket?
I'm going to a smoking jacket, and I'm going to sip sparkling water out of a martini glass.
That might have to be the name of this episode, Volatility After Dark. I like that.
Volatility.
It's definitely going to be a tweet at the very least. Well, so we are watching this. You're going to be watching it for a little while longer. Anything you want to leave our listeners with, Mr. Rhodes, before we sign off, hopefully for the final time today, unless there's something else really crazy cooking?
The one thing is, we're making a big thing about how much VIX is moving and the S&Ps are moving, but keep in mind that long term, the U.S. economy is always resilient, and one event like this does not necessarily. I've seen people tweeting, that it's that I voted for the first time in my life, and it's the end of the world, and things like that. I was in college and I was very unhappy with who was elected president when I was in college. And guess what? It was not the end of the world. So the sun will come out tomorrow, and because I know a lot of people are fairly disappointed. We're goofing around about all of this, but I know some people are going to take this kind of hard. And, it's not the end of the world if your guy didn't win this time.
Yeah. In fact, I've been saying that for a long time now. It's all right. It'll be another 4 years. You're right. That said, will be interesting to see how all this plays out. It's certainly not done, not by a long shot, listeners. She could still win, of course, Michigan and Florida if you are in that camp, or if you're a Trump fan, then maybe you are indeed rooting as he pushes into the home stretch. Seems like the markets know which way they're leaning. We'll keep an eye on those. And meanwhile, thank you for joining us yet again, taking time out of your busy 24 hours of VIX schedule over there, Mr. Rhodes, a.k.a. the Director of Education. Did I get your title right this time?
You got it right.
All right, there we go.
For the moment.
Thank you for till it changes again next week and something else going on over there. Well, thank you for keeping us abreast. You guys can check it out for yourself. Just search for wherever you look for your favorite overnight futures, or go on over the CBOE website to see what's going on over there on the VIX futures, and indeed some of the other products going up in their extended hours session. And hopefully this will be the last time we come to you today on Election Day, unless this meltdown continues, in which case I may make good on my threat to bring Russell back on again around 1 a.m. Central Time. And meanwhile, though, that's going to do it for us for today here on Volatility Views. We'll see you again on Friday, though, so join us again at our normal time, noon Central, to join us live, and we can dissect. Hopefully by then it'll all be in the rearview mirror. It won't be playing out in the courts and all the other places like Zero Hedge. But we'll have to wait and see. On behalf of Russell and indeed myself, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time for more Volatility Views.
Volatility Views is brought to you by CBOE Live Vol. CBOE Live Vol is the leader in equity and index options trading technology, providing professional and retail traders with the most sophisticated options risk analysis, compliance, and trading tools. CBOE Live Vol offers a broad spectrum of advanced trading technology, including the Live Vol X, next generation execution platform, and Live Vol Pro, the new standard in options trading front ends. Visit livevol.com for a 15-day free trial today. And by Russell Investments, the home of Russell Indexes, which calculates approximately 700,000 benchmarks daily, covering 98% of the investable market globally, including more than 80 countries and more than 10,000 securities. Approximately $4.1 trillion in assets are benchmarked to Russell Indexes. For more information on Russell Indexes and RVX, please visit russell.com/indexes.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/The Options Insider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.